Week in the NBA. I feel like I'm still catching up a little bit. So Kevin Durant, he's in Phoenix. Kyrie Irving, he is in Dallas. There are 9 new players in Los Angeles. So to help us make sense of everything that is going on, welcoming in senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, how exactly did the fallout after Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant was traded, how did that reshape how teams approach the trade deadline?
Malika, what I think it really does is I think it sorts through the teams who really know whether who are really trying to decide whether they're serious contenders or not. You're not going to get better players at the trade deadline than just were added in Dallas, in Phoenix. And so I think in some ways it actually chills the market a little bit on big moves. But the teams who were aggressive and tried to do even more, the Clippers, the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's start with the Clippers, who I thought had a really good day, and especially if we're talking about teams who have championship aspirations, picking up Aaron Gordon, bringing in Bones Highland and Mason Plumlee, and doing that without giving up a first-round pick and without giving up any of their young players. And so I think for the Clippers, I think it was a successful day. And the Grizzlies, who did bring in Luke Kennard from the Clippers, another wing player, they tried really hard. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And I think they were those kinds of wing players, certainly they felt could help catapult them. They're a team, an organization that certainly feels like they're on the cusp. They have drafted so well. They have so many draft assets. They haven't had to use them to build their team, so they can go out in a trade and do that. And so I think, for those two organizations in particular, who you can make a case for, have potential legitimate championship aspirations. Listen, it's not Kevin Durant, it's not Kyrie Irving, but I think those teams improve themselves. Especially the Clippers, again, they wanted a point guard. They couldn't get Mike Conley. They couldn't get Fred VanVleet. And so they went out and got a two-way guard in Eric Gordon. And Plumlee, who's very much of a playmaking center. They experienced that against Portland back in 2016 in Plumlee's career. He can impact on the offensive end with his passing. So I think they've improved themselves.
The Clippers, they certainly came into the season with sky-high expectations, and the moves that they made are certainly in line with trying to meet those. So we know, Woj, at the trade deadline, it has come and gone, but deals are far from over. What are you looking at with the buyout market?
Well, Russell Westbrook in Utah, his agent, Jeff Schwartz, is expected to talk with the Jazz today about how they're going to proceed with Westbrook on the Jazz. Certainly their timeline's very different in Utah. While they may be a playoff team this season, a very young roster, they've kind of rebooted there and had a terrific season with the group they've had. So I think Westbrook may not fit into their plans for the rest of this season, but would it be a contract buyout? Would he just maybe not play for the Jazz this season? Or is there some scenario where he could play, which I think is probably the least likely of them? Westbrook and Jeff Schwartz, they're going to talk that through now with the Jazz. If he gets out into the buyout market, listen, there is significant interest in Westbrook. I think one team that you've got to watch, and I think will be a front runner, the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan, their head coach, certainly coached Westbrook in Oklahoma City, and go further down his bench, Mo Cheeks, Josh Longstaff. There's a staff of former OKC assistants who all had good relationships and worked well with Westbrook, with the Bulls, and certainly you could see how he fits, just bringing some energy and some fire to that team's bench. And look in Houston, John Wall, the Rockets said they're going to waive him, and so that allows him to go out in the buyout market and become a free agent. But Danny Green's the interesting player in Houston. I'm told that he would like to be waived just like John Wall is being waived and not have to do a buyout. But Danny Green, teams like Boston, Cleveland, Los Angeles, great interest in him. And so I think those buyout market has changed, Malika, in recent years. There are not as many players. Guys don't want to give up their bird rights. They don't want to become, the fear sometimes is if you do a buyout, you become a minimum player on your next deal when you have to do a minimum here.
Right.
And I do think that's chilled that market a little bit, but there's certainly some players out there that I think can make an impact at teams' benches.
Absolutely. Some diamonds in the rough that could make a difference for a lot of teams. Woj, thank you for your work today and throughout the NBA trade deadline. The KD trade, it was made official last night. Chris Paul and Monty Williams, they spoke about the trade for the first time yesterday.
Drop that.